Bruchim haboim, welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Hey Amud Beis. 5 lines from the bottom, from the 2 dots. Our Gemara is going to discuss if a person wants to go and travel mi-Rishus HaYachid to the Rishus HaRabim, and he walks in between the Rishus HaYachid to the Rishus HaRabim by passing through a Karmelis, a Rishus D'Rabbanan, is he going to be chayiv for Hotzah? Says the Gemara, bringing a brayso, Tanu Rabbanan, Hamoitzi mechanus leplatya derech stov. If a person goes out from his store and he takes an object and he goes to a plaza, the city center, which is Rishus HaRabim, and he goes derech stov, which is the storefront. In front of the stores, the sellers of the wares would stand or sit in front of their stores, which was considered to be a karmelis. So he would be moitzi from his chanut, from his store, through the storefront, which is a karmelis, into the Rishus HaRabim. Tanakama says chayav, uben azai poiter. Says the Gemara, Bishloma ben Azai kisovar mahalich ka'oimei domi. Ben Azai is the opinion that a person who is walking, every time he takes a step on the ground, is as if he then stands stationary. And therefore, it's understood according to Ben Azai that why he's potter, because he takes the object and he leaves from the Rishus HaYachid and he walks into the Rishus, which is a Karmelis. So immediately, he's only going to be potter. And then when he goes forward from the Karmelis to the Rishus HaRabim, again, it's only going to be a hoitzah midrabanan, and therefore he'd be potter. But the Gemara says, Elo Rabbanan nami, nihi nami diksavre mahalech lav ka'omei domi. Granted that the Rabbanan do not hold, like Ben Azai, that a person who's walking is like he is standing every step of the way. But how could the Rabbanan say, nonetheless, that a person will be chayiv in such a situation? After all, when he's traveling again, he's walking and carrying from the Rishus HaYachid via through the Karmelis into Rishus HaRabim, why is he going to be chayiv? Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Safra, Amar Rabbi Ami, Amar Rav Yochanan, Midi dahava amavir chafetz b'Rishus HaRabim. Just like a person who's going to transport an object into the Rishus HaRabim, there he's going to then walk Dalet Amos. Hasam lav afal gav dekama dinoki le ve'ozil potir. There, don't we see that also when he is going to then hold on to his object, so long as he's walking, he will remain potter, even though he goes beyond the Dalet Amos. Ki monach le chayiv. Only when he stands stationary again does he do a hanacha, and he'll be chayiv. Hachanami loishna. So too over here is no different. In other words, the Gemara is making a comparison to say that in the same way that in over here when he's walking beyond Dalet Amos, so all of those Amos in between is so far not going to be a chiyuv. So too over here in our case, when he goes through the Karmelis, it's also not a makom that's chiyuv. And yet, when it comes to our case over here, we see that he's going to be chayiv. So too over there, when it comes to the case of the Karmelis, in between he'll be chayiv. Ask the Gemara Midami, what's the comparison? Hasam kol heicha demonach le makom chiyuvahu. There, every amma that he would place, if he would stop, it would be a place of chiyuv. Hacha, but over here in this scenario, imonach le bestov makom poterhu. If he would stop in the stov, it's a karmelis, and therefore he would be poter. Ella, rather, midi dahava ama'avir chayfetz mitchila daled lesoif daled. A person wants to he wants to transport an object from the beginning to the four amos after, and walk for a 4 amos space. Let's say he would stop in the middle after 2 amos, he would be potter. So kimonach le besoif daled amos chayiv. So when he stops at the end of the daled amos, he's chayiv, even though he went in between a place where he would be potter. Hachanami loshna. So too over here in the scenario with the Carmelites in between, it should be no different. And that's why he should be chayiv when he ends up in the Rishus Harabim. Ask the Gemara Midami, what's the comparison? Hasam over there, when he's walking the Daled Amos, legabe deahi gavro makom potterhu. In regards to the person who's walking Daled Amos, if he stops after 2 Amos, in regards to that person specifically, it is potter. However, lekuli alma makom chiyuvu. But for anybody else who walked already Daled Amos, if they stop in that place, then they're going to be chayiv. Hacha lekuli alma makom potterhu. But over here, in the case of the Carmelites, everybody who would stop in the Carmelites would be potter. Elo midi dahava amotzi merishus hayochid the rishus harabim derech tzidei rishus harabim. Rather, you have to compare it to a person who's going out from the rishus harabim through a tzidei rishus harabim, through the side rishus harabim, which is a din of a Carmelis, and then until rishus harabim. Hasam lav avagav di imonach leyatzidei rishus harabim potter. There, if he would stop in the tzidei rishus harabim, he would be potter. V'chimonach le rishus harabim chayv. And yet, if he continues on to the rishus harabim and then makes the hanacha there, he would be chayiv. Hachanami loshna. So too over here, it's exactly similar. So a person goes from rishus harabim, walking through the Carmelis, the stov, from the rishus hayochid, walking through the stov into the rishus harabim, he will be chayiv. Maskif l'Rapapa hanicha l'Rabbanan. That's all good according to the Rabbanan. The Amrei Tzidei Rishus Harabim live Rishus Harabim Domi, who look at the Tzidei Rishus Harabim as a Carmelis. El Rabbi Eliezer, the Omar Tzidei Rishus Harabim Rishus Harabim Domi, my Ika Lemeimar. But according to Rabbi Eliezer, who says Tzidei Rishus Harabim is like the same din as a Rishus Harabim, so what are you going to say? Omar le Rav Acha berei de Rav Ika Eimor de Shamas Rabbi Eliezer the Omar Tzidei Rishus Harabim Rishus Harabim Domi Heicha de Leka Chifufe. When does Rabbi Eliezer say that the Tzidei Rishus Harabim is like the Rishus Harabim? That's when there's no obstacles in the Tzidei Rishus Harabim. In other words, there's nothing there that's going to obstruct those people from walking through the Tzidei Rabim, therefore has the din of Rishus Harabim. Aval heicha di'ika chifufe, but when there's obstructions, mishameslei, would you say that? Would he say that it's the same? In other words, when there are pegs that they put alongside the Rishus Harabim, so that people who are walking with their carriages or their horses will not come too close to the walls, they put pegs, obstructions, then even he would agree that the Tzidei Rishus Harabim would be not like the Rishus Harabim. Hilkach lohodamya. Therefore, you'll say that this is similar indeed, and that's why when a person, again, he will take a object, leaving the chanut, the store, and walking through the stov, which is going from the store, which is a Rishus HaYochid, through the stov, which is a Carmelis, into the Rishus Harabim, and makes a hanacha there, he'll be chayiv. Says the Gemara, Amar B'Yochanan, Umoide ben Azai bezorik. That which Ben Azai said potter before, you should know he'll be agreeing when it comes to a person who throws the object from the chanut, from the store, through the stov, over into the Rishus Harabim. Tanya Nami Hochim, we have a brayso that also says like this: Hamoitzi michanus leplatyo derech stov chayiv. If a person says the Tanakama, who is moitzi from the chanut to the platyo, to the square, the plaza of the city, which is a Rishus Harabim, through the stov, which is the Carmelis, is going to be chayiv. Echad ha-moitzi, says the Tanakama, ve'echad ha-machnis. Whether a person is moitzi from the Rishus HaYochid through the Carmelis into the Rishus Harabim, or vice versa, or if he's machnis. Ve'echad ha-zorek, ve'echad ha-moishid. And whether somebody throws the object or is going to pass the object. Ben Azai Oimer Hamoitzi v'hamachnis potter. That he argues and says is potter because a person who walks according to Ben Azai, every step is as if he's now stationary, whereby he will then make the hanacha in the stov, in the karmelis, or the akira afterwards in the karmelis. Hamoishit v'azarei chayv. However, a person passes the object or he throws the object from the Rishus HaYochid to the Rishus HaRabim with a karmelis in between, even Rabban Azai would agree that he would be chayiv. Now the Gemara brings a brayso that explains the dalid rishuyos that we have in regards to meleches hoitzah that we've been discussing until now. Says the brayso, Tanu Rabbanon, dalid rishuyos l'Shabbos. There are 4 different rishuyos of Shabbos: Rishus HaYochid, Rishus HaRabim, v'karmelis u'makam petur. The Rishus HaYochid and Rishus HaRabim are rishuyos midiraisa that are going to be chayiv. We'll explain. Makam petur is also a rishus deraisa which is going to be potter. Karmelis is a rishus derabanan. Now the Brisa explains. Ve'ezo hi rishus hayachid. What is a rishus hayachid? By the way, rishus hayachid is not necessarily somebody who owns the private domain. It's a rishus hayachid for the following dimensions. Says the Brisa. Ve'charitz shehu amok asara. If there's a ditch that is 10 tfachim deep, ve'rochav dalid, and has the width of 4 tfachim wide, v'chen geder shehu gavoya asara, ve'rochav dalid. So too, if there's a partition that is 10 tfachim high and has a width of dalid tfachim, zuhi rishus hayachid gemura. That is considered to be a rishus hayachid. Now the classical rishus hayachid is where you have dalid al dalid as a dimension of dalid al dalid tfachim, and then you have walls on all sides that are 10 tfachim. Here we're talking about chidushim, that even when it's just a ditch, when it goes down into the ground and it has the walls that are surrounding it from the ground, 10 tfachim, or if it has walls or partitions, we'll call it, that are 10 tfachim high and they're wide 4 tfachim, that also gives it the din of Rishus HaYochid. Ve'ezihi Rishus HaRabim. Now the Brisa describes what is considered to be a Rishus HaRabim. Sartia. One definition is that it's a thoroughfare, like a highway that leads into the to the city. Uplatya Gedoyla, or a very large plaza area where people then make the shuk, they sell their wares, and all the people gather together there. Umavuos hamufulashin, and the large streets that are open on 2 sides that have 16 amos of a width. Zuhi rishus harabim gemura. This is considered to be a complete rishus harabim. The Brisa continues. Ein motzin mirishus hayochid zu lirishus harabim zu. Ve'ein machnisim mirishus harabim zu lirishus hayochid zu. You can't take out from rishus hayochid to the rishus harabim, or vice versa, be machnis from the rishus harabim to the rishus hayochid. Ve'im hoitzi vehichnis. If he does do so, then b'shoigeg chayiv chatos. If he did it inadvertently, he's going to be chayiv chatos. B'meizid onush kores v'niskal. If he does it deliberately, then he's going to be chayiv. If it's going to be without a warning, chayiv kores, and if he's warned with hasra, then he's going to be chayiv skila. Aval yam, says the Brisa, ubiko v'istavnis v'karmelis eino lo kirishus yochid rabim v'lo kirishus yochid. But all of these things, like the yam, the sea, and the bika, which is, let's say, a large area of fields, vistavnis, which is like we described in the beginning, like a stove, where you have like the platform, which is in front of this, we'll call it the storefront, in front of the stores, where people sell their wares. V'karmelis, all these things that don't have the dimensions of a Rishus HaYochid. Eino lo k'Rishus HaRabim lo k'Rishus HaYochid. They don't have either dimensions, and therefore rabbinically they're a domain of a Carmelis. And a person cannot walk Dalet Amos within those places. And if he did do so, then midrabanan, he's going to be potter from Eichatas, but it's also midrabanan. And you cannot go from one of these, the rabbinic rishuyos, a Carmelis, to a Rishus HaRabim, and vice versa. And you can't go from a Rishus HaYachid to the Carmelis, or vice versa. If the person did that, then potter, again, it's potter from a chatas, but it's also midrabanan. The Brisa continues, Chatzeiro shel Rabim, a communal courtyard, which they used to have there many houses that would share one courtyard. Umavuos she'ena mufulashin, and the streets that did not have two closed sides. In other words, there's a parallel street outside the courtyard. Irvu mutarin, lo irvu asun. If they made an eruv, again, because over here we're talking about a chatzir, which is a large chatzir that has many houses within it. So since the houses are owned by different individuals, it would be midrabanan prohibited from them to then carry from their chatzir from their house to their chatzir, or their chatzir to their house, because the chatzir is owned by everybody, and the houses are owned by individuals, so they have to make an eruv in order to do that. Similarly, if they want to carry from their chatzir to, let's say, this street area, which is called the mevuos, that are mefulashois, so they would also have to make an eruv, because the chatzir, that's let's say owned by a communal area of all of these houses, but there are other chatzeros that share the same street. So therefore, they'd have to make an eruv to carry from their chatzir to the street, even though the street is now a Carmelis, and they'd have to make a chatzir in order to do that. So if they did that, it would be mutter. If they did not do that, it would be aser. Adam oimed al ha iskupa noitem balabayis v'noisen loy. Here we're talking about a makom petur, the fourth category, where if a person stands on the iskupa, on this makom petur, which is less than dalid al dalid, and he can then take from, let's say, the balabayis, who's outside in the Rishus HaRabim, and he can give v'noisen lo. He can take from the balabais v'noisen lo. He can take from him and he can give back to him, because if from a makom petur to the Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaRabim to the makom petur, noitel me'ani v'noisen lo. He can similarly take from the ani who's in the Rishus HaYachid an object, or he can give to the ani who's in the Rishus HaYachid, because again it's a makom petur. Ubilvash lo yito mi balabayis v'noisen la'ani me'ani v'noisen la'balabayis. So long as he doesn't take from the balabayis, from the Rishus HaRabim, and give to the ani who's in the Rishus HaYachid, because the Rabbanan asserted such a thing because of a concern that you might then get lax and also then carry from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim, or vice versa. V'im nota v'nosen shloshtem ptuin. But if a person did do that, then the ani, the ashir, balabais, and the person who's standing on this makom petur is going to be potter. Acherim oimrim iskufa mishameshes beis reshuyos. Acherim is of the opinion that this iskupa, this makom petur, serves as two different domains. Bisman she'apesach pasuach kilifnim. When the doorway is open, then it has the din as a Rishus HaYachid. Pesach no'ul kilachutz. When it's closed, then it has the din of the Rishus HaRabim. V'im haisa iskupa gevoya asar v'rachvo dalid hazarei ze Rishus la'atzmo. Even though this is the same dimensions as a regular Rishus HaYachid, but if this is situated adjacent to another Rishus HaYachid, then this Iskupa will then also be considered to be a separate Rishus HaYachid. Whereby if a person carries from one Rishus HaYachid into the Iskupa, a different Rishus HaYachid, then that would be a problem. That would be Osir. And these are the four Rishuyos that our Brisa states, again, the Rishus HaRabim, the Rishus HaYachid, the Karmelis, and the Makom Pitur.